Today we're diving into essential bandsaw safety tips every woodworker should know. Whether you're a beginner or a seasoned pro, these practices are key to keeping you safe and ensuring the best results from your saw. Let's get started. First up, let's talk about understanding your bandsaw. Before using any power tool, it's critical to get familiar with how it works and how to set it up properly. The bandsaw's blade needs to be correctly tensioned, not too loose and not too tight. If the blade is too loose, it can slip off the wheels. If it's too tight, it can snap under pressure. Also, check the blade guides to ensure they're positioned just right. These guides keep the blade steady as it cuts, so if they're off, your cuts will be inaccurate and the blade could wander. Lastly, always make sure the blade is tracking correctly on the wheels. If it's not centered, you'll have problems with cutting stability. Next, let's talk about personal protective equipment, or PP. It's easy to overlook safety gear, but it's essential. Always wear safety glasses or a face shield. Sawdust and wood chips can fly in all directions, and protecting your eyes is a must. Hearing protection is also crucial, especially in a busy workshop where saws can get pretty loud. You don't want to risk damaging your hearing over time. A dust mask or respirator is another good idea. Wood dust, especially from hardwoods, can cause respiratory issues if you're exposed to it too often. Lastly, avoid wearing loose clothing, jewelry, or anything that can get caught in the blade. Secure long hair and roll up sleeves. Safety first. Now, moving on to setting up your workspace. A cluttered area can lead to accidents, so always make sure the floor around the bandsaw is clear of obstacles. You'd be surprised how easy it is to trip over a stray tool or piece of wood when you're focused on cutting. Good lighting is a must. If you can't see your cuts clearly, mistakes are bound to happen. And don't forget about ventilation. A well-ventilated space helps prevent dust buildup, and it also reduces the risk of a fire hazard from the sawdust. When you're ready to start cutting, remember to keep your hands at a safe distance from the blade. For smaller pieces, use a push stick or push block to guide the material through the saw. This keeps your hands well away from the cutting area. And never force the material through the saw. If it's not cutting smoothly, stop the saw and check the blade. Forcing the material can cause the blade to bind, which might lead to a dangerous kickback. Kickback happens when the material is thrown back toward you with force, and it can be very dangerous. Always feed the material slowly and consistently, and let the saw do the work. Keeping the bandsaw in good condition is just as important for safety. A dull blade can cause problems, both with cutting quality and safety. If the blade is worn out, it's much harder to control, and you're putting extra strain on the saw. So, check the blade regularly for wear and replace it if necessary. Always ensure the blade is sharp and properly aligned before starting your cut. And here's a big one. Never attempt to make adjustments or change the blade while the saw is running. Always turn the saw off and wait for the blade to come to a complete stop before you make any changes. And speaking of the blade, choosing the right one for the job is critical. A coarse blade with fewer teeth works great for cutting through thick wood, while a fine-tooth blade is better for precision cuts and intricate patterns. Using the wrong blade can cause more than just poor cut quality. It can actually be dangerous. It can make the saw work harder than it should and increase the risk of accidents.